Hello everyone, how is everyone doing? I hope you are doing great and wonderful and you are also studying. So we have come to the fourth TFT of CSAT and we have completed few topics, and today we will be covering the fourth topic, which is percentage profit and loss. So till now we have covered the number system, simple interest and compound interest. So if you have missed any of the previous lectures, you are advised to go through them and revise those concepts. So today's topic is percentage profit and loss. So this topic you would have studied in school, and I hope you remember something, few concepts. You remember what this stands for, and profit and loss, this you would encounter quite often. Now what are these concepts? So we have divided the TFT into different concepts because this topic is vast, and if we go into depth, then we would not be able to complete it. So we will quickly go through a few concepts that would be helpful in solving questions. So we have finalized 8 concepts that we are going to study today. Now the first word or term you can say, it is percent. What do you understand by percent? It is made up of two words, per and cent. Now cent means 100. So whenever someone says it's a percent of something or it's a percent, we are referring to per 100. It is represented as this symbol which you can see on your keyboard. So if I say 15%, then it means 15 by 100. This is what we mean. Now, what is the use of this percent? Why do we have to study this percent? It is useful whenever we have to go for conversions, whenever we go to the market to buy something, or probably if we have some old books, old material, then we would want to sell those items. So here we would require this concept. Now the first concept would be that if I have to convert percent to number, how am I going to do it? So I am going to divide that particular number by 100. So if I have to convert 4% to a number, then it means 4 I am going to divide by 100 and I will get 0.04. So 4% is equal to 0.04. Now what if it's the other way around? What if I have a number and I have to convert it to percent? In that case I am going to multiply by that same factor, which is 100. So if 2 is a number and I have to convert it to percent, then I am going to multiply it by 100 and I will get 200%. So what does this mean? It means if I have to convert percent to number, then I am going to divide by 100. On the other hand, if I have to convert number to percent, then I am going to multiply by 100. So this you will have to remember. This factor you will have to remember. Now the next concept is about fractions. If you remember, we have read about fractions, and a fraction is in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and p is not a multiple of q. So this is the definition of a fraction. Now here also percentage comes handy. For example, if we have to convert a fraction to percent, then we will apply this formula, this one. So we will multiply by 100. So let's say the fraction is 1 by 5. Then if I have to convert it to percent, then I am going to multiply it by 100, and this will be 20%. And let's say if we take another fraction 1 by 20, then if we have to convert it into percent, then we will multiply it by 100 and we will get 5%. So when we have any number, and if that number, let's say, is a fraction, then if I have to convert it to percent, then I am going to multiply it by 100. Now what if I have a percent and I have to convert it into a fraction? Again I will apply the rule that I learned from number to percent to number. So what we had learned here, if we have a percent, let's say 20%, then if I have to convert it to a fraction, then I am going to divide it by 100. So here I am going to get 1 by 5. Similarly, if I have another percent, let's say 5%, then I will write it in the form of 5 by 100 and I will get 1 by 20. So what does this mean? It means if there is a fraction and I have to convert it into percent, then what am I going to do? I will multiply by 100. And if there is a percent and I have to convert it into a fraction, then I am going to divide by 100. Even if you do not remember, by seeing the term you can easily do the conversion. Now there is another term here which is known as the base. What do we understand by base? So in percentage profit loss, base has a certain similarity with the general understanding that we have of base. Base means the bottom part, isn't it? For example, if I say this is a utensil in the kitchen, okay, then I would say this is the base, I would say, the bottom part. Similarly, here in aptitude also, what happens? We have a similar understanding. For example, if we take one question, let's say, there are 80 students in a class and the teacher asks them, which one of you love reading fiction? Okay. So she asks specifically that which one of you loves reading fiction, and she finds out that there are 40 students or 40%, let's say, okay, 40% of the students. I do not know the total number of students because that teacher has not disclosed, and she told me that 40% of the students, they loved reading fiction. Now I am in a fix because I want to know the number of students, but she has told only this trait or this feature. From this I have to derive how many students love reading fiction. So what do we have here? We have 80 students and among them 40% love reading fiction. So what does this mean? It means 40% of 80. They love reading fiction, and if I have to calculate this value, then 40% I will write as 40 by 100, and of means I will multiply it with 80. So what am I going to get? This will cancel out and I will get 32 students. Now here this number which is 80, okay, this number is the base, okay. So you have to understand, in aptitude, whenever it is written that 20% of something, then that x, this something is the base, which you must remember. There is another type of question which is sometimes asked. They ask you to find out the percent of a percent. Here, for example, if we take this question, 20% of, let's say, 30%. I will write these in the terms of numerator and denominator. So 20% is 20 by 100, of means into 30 by 100. So here this is going to cancel out and I am going to get 6 by 100, which is 6%. So percent of a percent, you simply have to multiply, which is quite not difficult. Then let's say there is another question. 20% of 30% of, let's say, 40%. So what do we do here? Again we will write in the form of numerator and denominator. So into 30 by 100 into 40%. So here again what will happen? I will cancel out these. I will get here 6 by 100 into 40%. So here once again there will be a cancelling and finally I will get 2.4%. So this is the value which I will get. So here also again only multiplication is required. The next concept, those of you who have dealt with salaries, who have either worked or working, or maybe they have learned from their parents about salaries, they would understand that every month, if you are working somewhere, if your parents are working somewhere, they would receive a salary amount, a paycheck or payment for their services. Now this can also be termed as an income of the family. Let's say it's of the father of the family. So this is the income of the family. For example, this amount is 10,000. This is the amount which the family is receiving as income. Now every month what is happening? There are many expenses to be bared. What are these expenses? You can also call them expenditure, or the items on which the money will be spent. For example, it could be on rent, bills like electricity bill, phone bill, gas, then food items, milk, then let's say if there is some domestic help who is coming, then domestic help. Or if you are going outside to have food in, let's say, restaurant, there was a birthday, so that will also come under the expenditure of the family, the monthly expenditure. If this amount comes to be 8,000 rupees, then the amount which is left is 2,000. This is the saving of the family. This is the saving of that particular month. Now what happens if the rent increases, let's say by 500 rupees, if the electricity bill increases by 500 rupees, milk by 50 rupees. Domestic help also says that I would take 150 rupees extra. So what happens here? Because the expenditure is increasing, the savings will automatically reduce. So if the expenditure is more than 8,000, the savings will be less than 2,000. Okay. So this also depends on the price of the commodities, of the goods and services. What are these goods and services? Goods means, for example, food items, okay, non-food items, or let's say petrol. Services, there are children, they are availing education facilities, they are availing health facilities, hospital. The family has an account in a bank, so all these would come in services. So if the prices of any of the goods and services or goods or services increases, the savings of the family would automatically reduce. Now we are seeing these as a consumer. The family is a consumer of goods and services. So the consumer, the family is buying goods as well as services. Now, if the family is the consumer, then who is the seller? Who is selling these goods and services? What happens to the seller? When we look at things from the seller's perspective, let's say there is a child in the family. She needs a notebook. Okay. So she goes to a stationery shop in order to buy a notebook, a thick A4 size notebook. Now the seller asks for rupees 120. Okay. She has to pay rupees 120 to the seller, to the stationery person, and she gets that notebook and comes home. Now what happens here? Where did this notebook come from, or how did this price come from? What was the journey which it travelled? Okay. The stationery wala, he did not manufacture that notebook himself. This notebook was bought from some other place, from let's say the warehouse. From the warehouse he got, let's say, 50 notebooks. One notebook he got for rupees 100. And what he did? He sold that notebook for rupees 120. So here what is happening? The cost price, the price which the stationery person had to pay to the warehouse was rupees 100. This is known as the cost price which the seller pays while buying a good from the warehouse. Now he sold this notebook for rupees 120. So this becomes the selling price. The selling price. So naturally we can observe here that he got a profit because he sold for more money. So here the profit is 120 minus 100, which is rupees 20. This is the profit of the stationery person, the shopkeeper. So what did we learn from here? We learned that whenever the selling price is more than the cost price, then there is a profit which is equal to the selling price minus the cost price. Here it was rupees 20. And if I have to calculate the percentage profit, then what will happen here? I will enter the profit amount and I am going to divide it by the cost price and then multiply it by 100. So this amount will be 20 by what was the cost price? It was 100 into 100. This will be 20%. Now, what happens when I am going to buy tomato? Okay, I am going to buy tomato, and the sabji wala, what happened? He bought tomato yesterday. Okay, he bought tomato for rupees 80 per kg. So I went to him and I told him, I went today in the evening, I told him that I want 1 kg of tomato. So he says that he will charge 80 rupees. I said, no, yeah, you bought it yesterday, it is not fresh, so I will not give you 80 rupees. So then we bargained, and finally he agreed that I will pay rupees 60 per kg. So what are these terms? This is the cost price for the sabji wala, and this is the selling price for him. He bought it for rupees 80, but because he bought it yesterday and I am buying it today, so I said I would pay only rupees 60. So here he has incurred loss because the CP is more than SP. SP is less. So whenever the selling price is less, there is a loss, and this loss is equal to CP minus SP. Here it is rupees 20 loss. It is not profit. So if we apply the formula of percentage, then we will find that the percentage loss will be equal to CP minus SP by CP into 100. So here this amount was 20 by 80 into 100. And so what is this amount? This is 25%. So he incurred a loss of 25%. Now the last concept is about multiplying factor. This will help you in most of the calculations. What do we understand by multiplying factor? This is a general formula. For example, there is a price. The present price is of any commodity is X. If the price increases by 10%, then what will be the new price? The present price is X. The increase is 10%. Then what is the new price? New price will be X plus 10% of X. This will be 110 by 100 into X, which will be 1.1X. Now what happens if there is a decrease? When there is a decrease in the price by 10%, then the new price will be X minus 10% of X, and this will come to be 90 by 100 into X. This will be 0.9X. So what did we see here in the two cases? What did we see? We saw that when X is the present price, when there is increase by 10%, then the new price is 1.1 into X, and when there is a decrease of 10%, then the new price is 0.9 into X. Can you see some general features? Can you generalize it? Yes, you can. You can say that the final value is equal to initial value plus minus K% of the initial value. This, if you simplify, you will find that it will be 1 plus minus k% of the initial value. Now what is this 1 plus minus k%? This 1 plus minus k% is known as the multiplying factor. So if we apply it in the previous example, what do we find here? We find that if there is an increase by 10%, then the new value will be 1 plus minus 10% of x. This value will be 1.1x. And if there is a decrease, then it will be 1. Here it will be plus, and if there is a decrease, it will be 1 minus 10% of x, which will be 0.9x. So summarizing it once again, when there is a increase of 10%, then you will write 1 plus 10% into x, which will come to be 1.1x. And if there is a decrease, then you will write 1 minus 10% of that value, whatever that value is, and you will get 0.9x. So you can apply it to any value. For example, if I change this to 20%, then I will write this at 1 plus 20% and I will get this at 1.2x. Similarly, if there is a decrease by 20%, it will be 1 minus 20% of x, it will be 0.08x. Okay, so this is how you can generalize this formula. So today we learned few concepts. The first one was about conversion or percent, conversion of percent to number and number to percent. We read about fraction, fraction to percent and percent to fraction. We read about the base and also percent of a percent. Then we also learned about income, expenditure, saving. We learned about price, about cost price, selling price, profit, loss, and we also learned about a multiplying factor. So I hope you have understood all these concepts. If you have not understood, then please drop a message in the comment box and let us know your doubt so that we can clarify it. So we look forward to meeting you again in our next lecture. We'll notify it in our channel. All the best and happy learning. Thank you so much for watching this. All the best.